Welcome to the Culture Cast, ladies and gentlemen. I can hear the music in the air. The music of our childhood is ringing through. I'm Dwight Couch, and with me, as always, the Simon to my Garfunkel, the Hall to my Oates, the Jazzy Jeff to my Fresh Prince, the
Oh,
one, the only, Mr. Jason Shepard.
so Uncle Phil's throwing me out of the house.
Yeah. That's how
Okay.
that's going to go down.
Okay. I get it. That's fine.
But you got the cooler glasses.
Well, well. Yeah, Jeff was cool, man.
So, speaking of that, did you watch the new Fresh Prince show? The
No,
reboot?
I had no desire to watch that. I don't know if it's any good or
It's
not.
not
I
that I
just
liked it. I'm going to watch the
really,
second season. I watched the first season. I didn't like some of the. You got to get out of the mindset of what it was, and look at it as what it is.
yeah.
But if you can do that, it's good.
Oh,
The actors do a really good job. So Jazzy Jeff is portrayed interestingly, if I can talk, in it, and so's Jeffrey, the
okay.
butler,
Really?
is really good. But anyways, I digress. Before we got started here, Jason, this stupid computer kept making me change my password,
Did it?
so I went with hi hat.
Well, I probably wouldn't tell everybody that, but
Well, the computer then proceeds to tell me that the password can't contain a symbol.
oh my gosh. I should have known. Like I should have known at this
I
point.
can't believe you didn't know. You went all in like, well, you shouldn't be giving your password out on national television, Dwight, or YouTube, or wherever the hell, Twitter, Facebook. What are you
What do you,
drinking?
I don't even want to talk about it. You remember when I told you a while back, a few episodes back, that I was boozing on a budget?
Right. Budget over?
We're doing that. No, budget's still running. Uh, tomorrow's payday, so the good stuff comes in. But tonight, it's just a good old Bush Light, loved by deer hunters and NASCAR fans worldwide. Listen, and that's not a. I'm not dogging anybody. Listen, that's just that. And there's nothing wrong with this stuff. Let's keep going because I feel like maybe someone got offended. Like really, like because man, that's my go-to.
Oh shit, no. Anybody who's drank beer has had to drink the Bush, the
And there's
Natty.
not that.
Buddy, I used to drink Natty Ice like it was going out of style because you could get it for $5 for 36 cans.
Now, here's the deal about that. Like I'll go Bush Light, but I will not stoop low enough to go Natty Light. I just can't.
Oh no, man, no. So you're beer snob.
Not necessarily.
Ah, yeah,
No,
no.
no, no,
I'll do the
no.
Bush and the Pabst, but I'm out on some Natty. You
And
like
Pabst is
Pabst?
a push too. Pabst is a real push, but uh,
I don't drink uh, beer at all anymore.
uh,
Occasionally I'll have a margarita or something, but that's about it.
I'll do a Pabst. The thing about Pabst is it was good enough for John Travolta and Urban Cowboy, so it's good enough for me, I guess, if I have to.
It's American staple.
It's American staple, man. Yeah. So, yes, but
So
tonight, go ahead. No, I interrupted you.
so Chris
All
is
beer
out.
equals puke? No, no,
I tell you what I used to like was Corona. I would
no.
drink a lot of Corona back in the day with a lime.
Yeah, yeah.
That was
Corona's good.
it was a good beer. It was light. I think my stomach does better with lighter liquids and clear because I love bourbon, but it tears me up.
Yeah, see, I can't do any liquor or alcohol or anything like that. Corona's got like a nice light beer out called Corona Premier. And last summer when I was at the beach, in our beach hotel, like up on the roof, there was a pool, and I spent a lot of time in that pool. And a lot of times nobody was in that pool except me. So like I would take like a 12 pack of Corona Premiers and just throw them in the pool and then drink them. And when I was ready for the next one, I would like swim over to the next one. Like it was great, man. It was awesome. Yeah. Just swimming over to my next Corona Premier. It was awesome.
It's like playing Marco Polo by yourself
It
in the
really,
pool.
really is. It was fun. Yeah.
I don't know
Hard
anything about
ciders.
any hard ciders.
Even man. No, I like ciders. I like ciders. Um, only had a few. Cider Boys is really good actually, but I will tell you this, and it's not even close to being a cider by any stretch of the imagination. But Bush here, they do this limited run of Bush Apple, and America like took it by storm. It was like, we love this. We're gonna buy 30 cases of it, put it in the back of our freaking pickup trucks, take it home. You would try to go find some and you could barely find it. So I would get lucky if I would find out like a 12 pack every once in a while. I'd grab one. And then they try to pull the whole we're discontinuing them this year.
Mm.
This is it. They'll be back out this summer. I guarantee you this is a marketing ploy. Why would you do away with a good thing? Enough beer talk.
Yes, but on marketing ploy, they do the same thing with the McRib.
The McRib, it's the same thing.
And you know what else? It just dawned on me: pumpkins.
Pumpkins.
Why can't you have pumpkin spice year round?
Oh yeah, well you could if you really wanted to.
Right, right. But why, all of a sudden it's, oh, you can only get it during the fall. It's all artificial flavoring.
It is. It all
It's
comes in a
2023.
jug that you pump. This is
Yeah,
this is this is how our feeble minds work, man.
right.
Yeah.
Speaking of marketing, nothing like the marketing on an old 80s cassette track,
Oh, come on. That's what we're here to talk about tonight.
right? That wasn't a bad segue. Let me ask you, do you ever own an 8 track?
Well, I never personally owned one, but my dad had a pickup truck when I was a kid that had an 8-track player in it. So he had 8 tracks. I mean, um, me being a fan of vintage media and still someone that still uses it and cherishes it and appreciates it today. 8 tracks sucked because your songs would stop. Some of your songs might stop in the middle of the song, and you would have to hit the button to flip, reverse the player and play the other side, so you could finish listening to like the rest of the song. I mean, I appreciate what they were going for, but they didn't really get that right until cassette tapes, in my personal opinion.
What about records? Did you own a lot of records growing up?
You know what I did? I we my so my parents had a I'm sure you remember the old 80s household stereo systems that had like the dual cassette, and then on top they had the record player with like the lid that you could open up and down, or like the transparent lid. Everybody had one. Like
Right.
Sound Design made it, or any of those companies made. Pioneer made them, whatever. Um, but yeah, I had a record player as well, like in my bedroom, and kind of that's like what we started with. I mean, it's showing our age, but I mean, yeah, that's what we had. And it's funny because I had some notes to mention tonight. Like some of the first things I had audio wise as a kid were records, and I remember, and you know what? I still have it to this day. Back in the office of the house, in a tote of records, I still have a tote of records back there. Was Chipmunk's Christmas.
Oh God.
Yeah, that record is still back there with scribble marks from an ink pen that I had made when I was a kid. I like scribbled all over it. It is still back. I still have that. It's crazy that I do still have it. But yeah, I had records and I listened to them, and listened to a lot of my parents' records. Like my dad was big into like Creedence Clearwater Revival, and there was a lot of like oldies records, like 50s and 60s. I remember he had the Beatles Rubber Soul album on vinyl, and yeah, I was always popping them on and listening to them. He showed me how to properly use it, and I would, and I also remember like borrowing the Beach Boys Endless Summer double record from my neighbor, and when I was a kid, and took it home and put it on, popped the tape in, and recorded the album, and then gave the record back to him. So yeah, I mean, yeah. Um, Also, I do remember the Chris says I had the Grease soundtrack on vinyl. Oh man, the Grease. I mean, I got that on tape actually. Not a
Yeah, that's a
fan.
good soundtrack.
I'm not a fan of it. See, I'm not a fan of the.
Oh,
Yeah, but someone
it's
gave it to me. It
good.
ended up in a
It's
pile of
good.
stuff that I got, and I was like, I'll keep it.
But anyway,
Not hating.
soundtracks are a whole nother subject here.
We're gonna get. Yeah, we're definitely gonna get into that. But McDonald's, when we were kids in 1984, when Gremlins was released as a promotional item for Gremlins, um, McDonald's had these records that were like read along records that came with a book, and there were maybe like four of them, and these four books would like sort of document pivotal scenes in the movie, and you could listen to the record and read along with it, and it would tell you like when to turn the page, and you could, you know, yeah. I mean, I had those, man. It was crazy, but I mean, of course, by this point we had tapes as well. So
Right now, I remember He-Man had some records, but the
yes,
records in those, like the hole in the smaller ones, was like a lot bigger round
yeah,
than the hole in a traditional record.
hmm
But we had my grandma and my grandpa had the record that you lifted up, the big fancy stereo unit.
oh yeah, yeah,
We had just the single. It was black. It had a clear case that like came down over it, record player.
yep.
We were always losing needles. But
Mm.
my first experience with a record player and music was like one of the albums that you like order off like Time Life, hey, get all the classic comedy songs of the 50s and the 60s in fun rock, this
Featuring
four
Ray
album set.
Stevens. Yeah, yeah. No, I know.
But it was a 4 album set or a 6 album set, I don't know, of what they called fun rock. It had like Monster Mash, Woolly Bully, One Odd One Horn, Flying Purple People Leader, Itsy
Yeah,
Bitsy Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot Bikini. So it
yeah.
had all those, and Hang On Sloopy, which for some reason for my entire life I've thought that was about Snoopy and the Red Baron, but it's not, because there was another song on the album that was actually Snoopy and the Red Baron. So it just happened that the S and the Oopie were getting
S and the Upi.
confused with my childhood.
The L and the N threw you off. They're so close in the alphabet.
Right. I mean, you don't use it.
That's
They're
a
not that important letters, right?
no.
N and L can be interchanged. I mean, hell, you could probably use numbers
You
and
could.
get the same effect.
Why not? Yeah.
But
The
those were cool. And I remember the He-Man records. I remember the McDonald's records.
so you
And then I
remember the
remember
Gremlins
losing the
ones?
needle and never getting another needle.
Yeah, yeah.
And there goes
It's
my record days.
yeah. I mean, so obviously we are the age where we started off with records. That's what we kind of did. Let me ask you this. Now, when I was a kid, I had several tapes, but it was all it was things like the Smurfs. It was I remember I had the Smurfs cassette, and it was like I guess I would parallel it with like Simpsons Sing the Blues. It was all original songs that the Smurfs would sing, but written specifically for this album. I wore that thing out, man. And it's funny because I woke up one Saturday morning thinking about that for whatever reason, and I turned to my girlfriend. I'm like, babe, why am I thinking about the Smurfs cassette tape? Blah blah blah. So I'm like, I gotta look this shit up. So I looked it up on YouTube, and the album is on there. I can't even remember what it was called. And I listened to like the first song, and I'm talking, dude, I haven't heard this in like 40 years. Okay. As soon as it started playing and they started singing, I was chiming right in with them, and I was like, how do I remember this? How has that stuck with me? And I haven't heard it in so many years. How is that? But yeah, it did. I mean, it was crazy. That's what I had, to listen to growing up. And I have a prop that I was going to show you. There was some Star Wars books and cassettes and it was a read along. Like, so you pop the cassette in, and the guy would be like, "You'll know when it's time to turn the page when you hear R2D2 beep like this," and then R2D2 would go whatever, and
Oh wait, you were cutting
that's
out on me. How did R2 go?
well, he would go or whatever he does, and then it was like, "Let's begin now," and so you would turn the page, and every time R2 would make that sound, you would be your cue to turn the page. But I found this at Half Price Books a couple of years ago, and I had to buy it. It was stupid cheap. This is what it was. So you get it's still in a package.
Oh
You get the
shit!
tape. Yeah, you get the tape up here, and this is a re-release. This is not the original ones I had when I was a kid, but this is after Disney owned it. But yeah, so yeah, the tape and the book. You read along with the tape. I mean,
Oh,
it's
that's
super
still
cool,
cool
man.
that they even released the tape.
It is
I
cool.
mean,
Right. I mean, at this point, I think this has a 1997 date on it. So has Disney owned Star Wars that long? I guess they did.
now that would have was Disney on the back of that?
Yeah.
No, it shouldn't have been that long. Interesting. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Huh.
Kind of weird.
I'm sure. Yeah, Chris loved your R2 impression. So, oh, that's fantastic. Um, yeah, so that's cool. I didn't realize that Star. I don't think I ever had anything Star Wars that was on a tape. What I had though was the first cassette that I can remember having was a white cassette, and it was Alabama mountain
Oh,
music. That we didn't have a lot of other music in the house besides whatever my dad, or obviously whatever my dad and my mom listened to. My mom would listen to some 70s and 60s, some of the older stuff, and then my dad was pretty much old country, so it was a lot of Alabama, Travis Tritt,
oh yeah.
things like that growing up.
Yeah.
But I remember Alabama and REM.
REM, really?
No, wait, REM. No, no, never mind. REM's later. Later. Alabama, my first cassette tape.
Okay.
I remember Simpson Sings the Blues. That was the one that I hadn't heard in years up until several years ago, and I knew every word
Yep. It's weird how
as
that.
well.
Yeah.
The Ninja Turtles. We talked about that a couple
They're
weeks
coming out of their
ago.
shells.
Yeah,
No.
I'm pretty sure that was a cassette.
Oh
You
yeah.
remember when you go to Walmart and buy a cassette and you buy it, and it's in this god awful ladder?
Dude, it's so. I have notes on everything you're getting ready to say. It's so crazy. Let's run it back to the Alabama thing. My parents had that exact tape, Alabama Mountain Music. Oh, play me some mountain music. Yeah. Oh, dude, bump the shit out of it, man. Like we it would be like a Saturday morning, and you would wake up and you'd smell furniture polish and breakfast cooking because mom was cleaning the house and cooking breakfast, and they had that damn tape on, and you wake up to like, yeah, freaking Dixieland Delight or something just rocking. Things like, yeah, we had that. I used to burn that up, and yeah, basically, let's talk about things are so different now versus how they were then, and how
Right.
you obtained your music. And so back then, yeah, you'd have to go physically get it, and you go to Kmart, Walmart, anywhere like that. And then I got so many tapes from Kmart and Walmart and
Hex.
Hex. Oh, I'm sure I got tapes from Hex. Mostly bought toys from Hex, but I'm glad that you brought Hex up. That's really cool. Um, but yeah, you would have to take them to the counter because they had this ladder looking lock box on them like a security device, and you had to go take it to the register and get them to use the magnetic thing to take it off. And but there was something so exciting about going through the aisles and looking alphabetically to try to find your tape that you wanted, and they had it, and you were like, and taking it to the counter in that freaking ladder of a box, and then popping that off and knowing that that was getting ready to go in your bag and you were taking that home.
One of the cool things about the packaging with that, because it was so odd, but you could carry more tapes because of that. because on the end you could bunch several more up to where
You
if you
could,
held them, you wouldn't be able to.
you could. And you know what's funny is, uh, man, I bought so many tapes like that. I'm gonna run it back to my first. So I mentioned all these little like the Smurfs and all these little things, but the actual first tape that I ever had that was by like a music group or like an actual band or artist or musician was and I don't know if you remember this group. They're called DeBarge. The name of the family was the DeBarges. So the DeBarge was it was a group of brothers and sisters. They had I know you know the song Feel the beat of the rhythm of the night,
Oh
dancing
yeah.
till the morning. Okay, I 1985 that shit drops, and I'm obsessed with it. I'm like dancing on my bed, and I'm like fucking. And my parents are like, okay, like yeah, I was like, Dad, can y'all? I need this tape. So Sears, you know, in Frankfurt, there, back in the day, they had an electronics section where you could buy tapes. And we went in there one day and he picked up the Barge Rhythm of the Night, the album, for me, and that was my first ever um, tape by like an actual band or a group that produced that released albums and did music. And I still have that tape right over here across from me, like 3 feet away. It's over there. I still have that tape, and man, there's a lot of good stuff on that. But of course, that kicked in the door, opened a spiral. Walmart, Kmart, Sears, you could get tapes. I don't know if you remember in Frankfurt, we had a place back in Franklin Square called Kitty Hawk Records. Kitty Hawk.
Chris
Look, he
Payton
knows
remembers.
about Kitty Hawk. He knows about Kitty Hawk.
He had put up there a few minutes ago.
Man. Oh no shit. Okay, Kitty Hawk. Okay, Kitty Hawk, man. Like that's where if you remember, I don't know if you remember there's like a baseball card shop or something back in Franklin Square. That actually was Kitty Hawk before
See, now I remember it when it was the baseball card shop.
yeah. Oh, that was Kitty Hawk. And so I would get some stuff over there. But I remember like of course when I was you know the obsession with Ghostbusters that we had, right? Like it didn't matter what it was, I had to have it. So naturally, I had to have the Ghostbusters soundtrack to the first movie, and we looked everywhere and we could not find it. We just could not find it, and so my dad had to go to Kitty Hawk and he looked for it. He's like, "We don't have it, but I can special order it for you." And he did. My dad ordered the Ghostbusters tape, and we had to wait for it to come in. And I just remember the anticipation, like, oh my God, like, when's it going to be in? He's like, he said it'll be in today. I'm going to go pick it up after work. And I'm like, like, just the little trivial things like that, like, meant so much and made such a huge, like, the things that we got excited for because we didn't have access to them the way we do now. Like, it's so crazy to think about. And let me tell you, when he came home from work that day and he brought that tape in and he handed it to me, it was on Arista Records, and anything that Arista Records did was released in a red tape case, and it just added that much more of a cool factor to the tape look, right? The look of the tape. I was like, oh. And here's the thing: I still to this day appreciate physical media. I appreciate tapes. I collect them. I listen to them. VHS tapes, collect them. I watch them because here's the thing about like cassette tapes. I'm a guy who uses streaming music every single day of my life. But when you have a cassette tape and you know that you like the artist or you know that you're pretty sure you're going to like what's going to be the content of that tape, of that album. Tapes sort of force you to listen to that album as a whole, as a cohesive project. You were going to pop it in, you were going to hit play, and you were just going to let it run. And you were going to run into songs that maybe you didn't even know that you would care about by this artist or this group or on this soundtrack or whatever. But you came across it because, I mean, yeah, you can fast forward and rewind and try to get to your favorite spot, but like, who's gonna take the time? Just pop it in and let it roll, and that's how you discover the beauty of and the lost art of um, a cohesive album and a project. And while that's playing on your radio, you pop open the sleeve out of the case and you open it up and you read the liner notes, and the tape insert has that smell to it. I mean, it's just all a lost art, really is, man.
Right.
And, yeah, man.
Yeah. No, I remember. Now, growing up, we had some tapes around the house, and it would be whatever mom and dad bought. If I saved allowance, I could buy certain cassettes. But the majority of my tape cassettes, I remember, it was much cheaper to buy a sleeve of 5 or 6
Oh yeah,
blank tapes, throw those in your box,
yeah,
and then wait for something to come on the radio.
yeah, yeah.
But
Did
I
that
am
too.
pretty sure that I had MC Hammer. I remember buying that, and I'm pretty damn sure Milli Vanilli was on cassette as well.
Oh yeah, I've got it. Yeah,
That was cassette. That wasn't that we weren't to CDs at that point.
yeah. Well, I think we were. We were CDs. Excuse me. CDs came out in like the mid '80s, man. They came out a lot sooner than you think they
Well,
did.
I'm thinking of when me out in Podunk,
Oh
nowhere,
yeah, I
Kentucky.
definitely did it. Now listen, we can go on and use that as a segue to CDs because that was hot shit right when it came out, and we were. I can tell
What was
you.
your first CD?
I was going to say I can tell you my first CD. So we were a late bloomer family to get in like a CD player, and I remember. Oh, it was probably Walmart. I don't know. And I think it was somewhere up here in Lexington. Like we had made a trip out, whatever, got a CD player, stereo, whatever. And my dad was like, all right, so like you kids, you all can pick out like one CD each, whatever. And so I was big into like 60s music then as I am now, and I'll tell you why I was. A side note, there was a radio station here in Lexington called Oldies 103.3. It's something that I happened across as a kid on my own, just sort of took to it, listened to it like constantly on the daily, and it just sort of opened my door and appreciation to 60s music. I still love it today. It's just mostly what I listen to, that and like 80s stuff. But my first CD pick was, and I think I was kind of misled because I didn't read it right, but it was a string quartet tribute to the Beatles. I can still remember there was a purple, the cover was purple, and in like this really elegant cursive writing, it was like a string quartet to the Beatles, and I was like, the Beatles, just get it, like that's your. And then I took it home and I was like, what the fuck? What is this? And I didn't listen to it very much at all. And then we started getting into the whole death trap of Columbia House and BMG and about 10 CDs for 25 cents. Cool. Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah, we did that. We did
yeah,
that.
yeah. We
We probably still
definitely
owe on that.
definitely paid every single one of those bills, and definitely do not owe any money to Columbia House or any entities that may now own Columbia House.
Me either. We paid you
Yeah,
guys off.
we were all
We
fair and
are.
square. But I got a lot of CDs from Columbia House.
Yeah. Yeah.
My first CD, my brother was the real big music head in the family, so he didn't live with us where we lived at, but he was always the one who was more up to date with music and things like that. So he was the first one I ever met that had CDs. Had CD players and Walkmans first, and
Yeah.
the tape Walkman first. But he gave me my first CDs, and it was Alice in Chains, and then it was a Porno for Pyrus
Porno for
single,
Porno for Pyros. Yeah.
and it was Pets,
Oh
which I
yeah. Well, make
love
great
that
tips.
song.
Well, yeah.
And it dawned on me the other day. Me and Wendy were laying in bed, and I was like, "Oh shit!" It just popped into my head. Haven't thought about it in 20 plus years.
Yeah,
popped into my head, so I instantly, just look it up on YouTube and put that on, and
that's a good
it was,
song, man. Yeah.
good time reminiscing. But
Oh yeah.
REM was big for me back in the day. One tape I forgot to mention, and I would be very upset if I did not, was WrestleMania the album.
See, I remember that, but I
That was
never.
on cassette,
Yeah. Uh,
and I remember buying that.
Now, was this the one that had all their theme songs on it, or
No, this is the
no?
one that
This was.
had Macho Man singing. It had Bret Hart singing a song.
Did that have Junkyard Dog singing "Grab Them Cakes"?
No, I
Grab
don't
them
think so.
cakes.
It may have. It may have.
That sounds about right, man. Grab them cakes is that joint, man. Grab them cakes.
So in CD form, now I had all the WWE. I still have that all in my on my phone. I've adapted really well to the way music has progressed over the years. But CDs, you were talking about long form artists. CDs gave us the ability to skip and
Yes.
just start microwave societying. All started with the CD because you didn't have to listen the other 12 minutes to the three songs before your fourth song.
Yeah, you didn't. And I love CDs. And I love it. I mean, I love being able to skip when I want, just the same as I love streaming music. But I also do love the appreciation of popping in a tape and checking the whole album out for what it's worth. So yeah, man,
So,
but CDs, huge game changer. I mean,
so let
now,
me ask you, with the advent of CDs, I went a lot more at that point outside of Columbia House. But when I would go, buy a CD, I went a lot more to the singles at that point. That was when I'd noticed that I will collect a lot more just individual songs because I could buy four songs for the price of eight songs, but I would listen to four songs.
I never really bought singles. There was a very few that I had. If I knew like that a band or a group or whoever that I liked was putting out an album, I was going to get it because I knew I was going to like it. So I just never even bothered with the singles and just went ahead and got the full album. So yeah,
So now, how often do you pop in a CD nowadays?
you know what? Believe it or not, I pop in tapes these days more often than I pop in a CD.
I
I have
totally
tons.
believe it.
Yeah, I have tons of CDs in my car, but I never really. I mostly Bluetooth up and. But I'm also at the age where I'm like, just turn on the radio and turn it down like really low and drive with it, like whatever. Yeah, I know but yeah, no, I don't. It's rare when I'm like, I have the CD and I'm gonna pop it in right now.
So you remember how unsafe it was to drive in the 90s and
Oh,
the
with
early
this,
2000s?
well, because you had a CD book that you had to flip through and decide what you wanted to listen to, right? So,
Right. I got four of those down here. Not like the little books. I'm talking the big, thick books
oh,
because
the
I got
big,
mine and Wendy's.
yeah,
I got four of those down there, and then a box that has a shoebox full of cassettes. But then it's got a box full of CDs on those round spirals that you would buy the blank DVD or
oh yeah,
CDs.
the spindle,
Yeah,
yeah,
we carry those in visor. You pull down the
oh yeah,
visor.
yep,
Five CDs fall off the visor.
yep,
Eight of them are in the rack, followed
yep,
by the other 16 that are stuffed behind them because it's a good idea to scratch all your CDs
sure, yeah,
while you're eating Subway in a manual shift pickup truck,
yep,
popping CDs in and out of and then they want to be like, well, cell phones are a distraction.
right. No, I agree. No, then let me tell you about every CD case that's in my car. Like if you pick up, for example, like I know for a fact that I have Phil Collins' "No Jacket Required" CD in my car. If you pick that case up and you open it up, Phil Collins' "No Jacket Required" will not be in there. It will be like Diana Ross and the Supremes' greatest hits. And it's like, why is that in there? Where's the Phil Collins CD? It's in another case. Like, I don't know how this happens.
Do you still have cases?
I do, yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
I have
have
all.
cases. I don't have
Most
cases of
most of
my
my
CDs.
I'd say like 90% of my CDs still have cases, but I don't. Yeah,
I got an 80s greatest hit that has a case, but that's because me and Wendy got it a few years ago for Christmas.
Nice. Okay.
We,
Hang on to it,
it's a
man.
really good CD. It's like a 2 CD set.
Yeah, I mean, the cases are the same as the. Hold on. Cassettes before they went out had a technology that would stop in between each song when fast forwarding or rewinding if there was a second or two silence between each song.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
The more you know, and knowing's half the battle.
I did not know that. No, I didn't. I can tell you this. Did you ever own a cassette tape that you would hit play at the beginning of the tape and they go?
No.
You never heard those tones at the beginning of your tapes?
No.
The only time you would have heard them are on, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure, a tape that had the XDR logo on them, because what that was a frequency test to make sure that you got the best quality sound. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of this. I could not tell you what that entails, but it was like a tone test to make sure that you were going to get like the best quality of your tape and sound quality. And I only noticed the certain tapes I have. I can tell you one tape for sure that I have that does that is the California Raisins, Sweet, Delicious, and Marvelous, which I picked up at Walmart when I was a kid out of like the $2 bin, and I still have that tape.
Oh my God. Do you remember the California Raisins musical? Like
Uh,
the Christmas special?
oh yeah, I had a look. I know a person. I'm friends with a person. I'm not going to mention them. I let them borrow this tape years and years and years and years ago. It was all Christmas episodes recorded from that year that the California Raisins Christmas special debuted on TV. It was on CBS, and it aired right after the Garfield Christmas special. And we recorded it. I let them borrow it, and I have not. I'm never going to get that tape back. But there was just so much heat throughout that tape. It was like, this is dope. This is dope. And yeah, I don't have it anymore. It had commercials in it. It had all that shit in it. It was good.
One of my favorite Christmas songs is specifically because of the California Raisins is the only reason that I like the song. But they had, which one is it? Which one are you going to
Well,
say?
I don't know. You mentioned this on our Christmas songs episode, but
Oh,
you
I
never
probably
told me which
did.
one it was. You didn't. Yeah.
Star of Wonder.
Oh, with the camels.
Yeah, they had the camels singing it. I just thought
Okay.
that was the funniest shit ever.
Here's the deal. I don't like that. Something about it creeps me out.
The camels singing?
I remember, yes, I remember being a kid and that coming on, and just being like creeped out by it. And it's not sat right with me since. I don't know. There's something I don't like about it. Yeah, it's real weird. But I know exactly what you're talking about. The three wise men, and they had their camels, and they would sing "We Three Kings," and then the camels would pop in and go, "Star of Wonder, Star of Night." Oh yeah, I mean, no, totally creeps me out, man.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, so anyways, I love that. The California Raisins were great.
Oh
You
yeah, I
know,
love them.
had a big toy line, a big music. I mean, hell, they advertised raisins for years by singing "Heard It Through the Grapevine." For
Yeah,
many years of my life, I thought that's who sang "Heard It Through the
right.
Grapevine."
Like
I
who's
had no
Marvin
idea
Gaye?
it was anybody else.
Who's Marvin Gaye? I know the Raisins did it. That's their song. Look, you know what's super cool about this Raisins tape that I have is well, you remember the Walmart that was over in Frankfurt where Elder Bierman was, right?
Uh-huh.
That's the Walmart to end all Walmarts, if you ask me personally. But yeah, we got it out of there one night, and the cool thing about this, it's all Motown covers, but it's done. Of course, it's marketed as the California Raisins did it, but like whoever the studio band is that did these songs are on fire. Like there's probably 20 people in this band, singers, sax players, all this. I mean, they killed it. But when I was a kid in my mind, nah, it was no studio band. That was the California Raisins doing it, man.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
to this day I would still probably lean to
Like I
believe,
don't,
oh yeah,
yeah,
the
I just
Raisins
think
are
of the
jamming,
of
brother.
Raisins doing it. Yeah, like that's what I like to visualize in my head. But oh yeah, yeah, man.
So, who are your biggest musical inspirations? Um, growing, from the 80s and 90s. I'll give you two parts there.
Man, I'm big. You know, I'm Duran Duran is my favorite band. Like I think there's been many times in my life where I've called a band.
I remember
Okay,
that
he's
Walmart.
talking about the old. Yeah, I used to go down there. I used to go down there. No, Duran Duran is my like all time favorite band. Like for me to be able to call them my favorite for so many, I'm talking 20s plus years now. I say it's safe to say that they're sealed in as my favorite band. Big into Prince, Depeche Mode, Tears for Fears, Howard Jones, the Thompson Twins. God, I could go on and on. So many, so it's just so many. Culture Club. I really like Culture Club's music. Boy George is a hell of a singer. I mean, you know, 90s. When we talk 90s, that was a game changing. The 90s opened. Here's the deal. I didn't get into 80s music until I was older, much later than I was when I discovered 90s music. So 90s music for me was really, I found it like at the right age. I was 13, 14. Bands like Nirvana and Soundgarden were coming out. I mean, you had Weezer dropping their first album. You had, Nine Inch Nails. I mean, REM. I got into REM big back then. I mean, it was just there was so much of that stuff that was coming out of the '90s, and that's when I think I really started finding my identity with music. And yeah, I mean, that those were my big ones when I was a kid, or when I was a teenager rather, and then of course after Nirvana disbanded and Foo Fighters came out. Now, I'm not big on Foo Fighters now, but like those first like four Foo Fighters albums are really good. And when I found out that Dave Grohl from Nirvana he had a new band and he was, that first album, I was just like all over it, man. I picked it up immediately. Rage Against the Machine was a big one. I was huge into Rage Against the Machine. Um, Started finding hip hop. So Wu Tang was big. I was huge into Wu Tang. Beastie Boys, I was huge into. Um, yeah, I mean, I could go on and on, man. But yeah, the '90s really brought my taste out. I think I started finding what I really liked.
So now I know a lot of the 80s was a lot of country. A lot of the 90s, a lot of the early 90s was a lot of country, a lot of
Mhm.
Alabama, George Jones, Garth Brooks, Trisha Yearwood,
Garth
Shania
was
Twain.
huge in the early. Dude, Garth was huge for country, man.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he revived country. I think when it was kind of dead, he
Yeah, that
really
was my
did.
first concert I ever went to was a Garth Brooks concert in Rupp
Really,
Arena. And we had the distinction to be the first time that the song Unanswered Prayers was sang in a closed arena.
no kidding.
And therefore I thought, well, that could be really bad because everyone else has showed a lot more reverence than us, here in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Uh, but he said it was really cool, and it went on one of the albums that he done on that tour that he released. So I know somewhere out there, there's me and 30,000 other people singing unanswered
So
prayers
that version made
on
it to a cut.
on a CD because he said he was very impressed that that was the first stadium that he had that was closed that sang the song. Um, I tell you what, one of the bands of the '90s. Now the '90s were interesting because mid '90s I really started finding a rhythm as far as music outside of country and older '80s. I loved '80s music. I loved soundtracks, Footloose, anything that had a real funky beat to it. I was all about.
Yeah.
So mid 90s, I started discovering a lot of the earlier bands, a lot of the grunge movement that I'd missed out on the beginning of. Um, but it was funny because me and my brothers, I have three brothers, all different ages. And at individual times in our life, all four of us had wound up being huge juggalos and liked ICP. And so there was a lot of Insane Clown Posse that went through the family, but none of us really knew. It was just one of those things that we all found out, oh shit, we all four have this in common. And I remember owning several of the cards that ICP dropped for a few years there. I think they had 7, if I'm not mistaken. And I used to bump that a lot in high school and right out of high school, along with some. My all-time favorite band is Hootie and the Blowfish, and that's a
You
very
know what? They're a good band, man.
quintessential '90s.
They're a good band.
And Darius Rucker's a hell of a country singer too.
He is. Yeah.
He's dropping a lot of country albums, and they're really fantastic. And I love the Blues Travelers. Blues Travelers and Hootie were
Blues
what I
Traveler,
brought.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Fish.
I'll tell you.
I don't know if you
I'll
ever listen to Fish.
Dude, I'm not into them, man.
Oh, I love Fish, man.
I know you mentioned that before. Um, no, I don't. I'm not really into them. I'll tell you another band. Well, I could do. I could. Gosh, I don't know how I didn't mention these. White Zombie was huge.
Oh yeah.
On what? Is he unsubscribing over Fish?
I think it's on the Hootie and the Blowfish.
Which fish is it, Chris?
We have to
Hootie
know.
or fish? Because yeah,
They're both fish. I didn't realize that. Maybe Chris just doesn't like seafood.
that's probably it. Could be it.
Probably didn't have the Little Mermaid soundtrack either.
Mm.
Oh, ICP. Oh.
ICP. God, Chris, he didn't listen to that now. Man.
Yeah, it's right here.
Oh, Chris, I'll see you, man. I'll see you in some other platform, man. Because I'm out of here too. I'll see y'all. No, yeah, yeah. White Zombie was big. I was really big into White Zombie. Collective Soul. I was huge into Collective Soul, man. Loved them. And they're still great. They're still going. They're still putting out albums. They're still touring, releasing new music. And they're still great. I could go on and on with the 90s. Alanis Morissette. Loved it.
Oh my!
Love that Jagged Little Pill album, man.
God,
Garbage.
that's such a
Garbage.
that whole album's fantastic.
Dude, that Jagged Little Pill. Let me tell you, there was one Christmas I asked for some CDs for Christmas, and I asked for specific ones, and I ended up getting that same Christmas. I got Soundgarden, Super Unknown. Fucking great album. Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill, REM's Monster, and for whatever reason, I asked for Steve Miller Band's Greatest Hits. I don't know why, but I did.
Nothing wrong with Steve Miller Band.
No. Yeah. And then if we want to run it back to Columbia House days, I remember one summer my mom was like, "Yeah, you can get some CDs." I got Nirvana, Nevermind. I got 9 Inch Nails, The Downward Spiral. What else did I get that summer? I think I got I was getting into Aerosmith, so I got Aerosmith's Big Ones albums or something. Like, you remember that? Yeah.
Yes.
The Big Ones
So let me tell you a story. So 1993 or 94-ish, in that time frame, somewhere in the early 90s, that album is released on CD.
Mm.
Me and my now wife are 14, 13, somewhere in that age, hanging out at her grandmother's house. I never listened to Aerosmith or anything, and the only reason I like anything to do with Aerosmith is because of Wendy. But I remember, and it freaked her out because we had lost touch for 16 years and hadn't spoken to each other before we got together. And
It's because you went through that ICP phase.
probably because the Insane
It's like, you
Clown
know what?
Posse.
I don't give this time to cool off. But
So I remember sitting out on Oynton Road with her, and we would listen to Get a Grip by Aerosmith. And we were talking the other day, and one of the songs came on, the more popular song from it, and it had the album cover with the, the cow teats and all that shit
mm-hmm.
on it. And she was like, "Are you sure that was the one?" I'm like, "Yeah, because that's the one that has the song Eat the Rich.
Eat the rich, yeah.
It's the only thing they're good for."
Eat the rich. Yeah.
But I remember, and I embarrassed her a little bit. I was like, "I remember you jamming out so hard to that song when we were hanging out outside on the picnic table." And I was like, "That's the only time I ever heard that song. It's not like that got, to my knowledge, played on the radio or anything, and I never owned it." But yes, I have a very fond memory to that particular album, and
Yeah.
never, ever has it graced my collection.
Yeah, big ones, man. I mean, I don't have it anymore, but I definitely got it through Columbia House back in the day. Um, and you know what? I think in that same batch, I got Green Day Dookie, and I
Oh,
wore
that's a
Green Day Dookie.
fantastic
Yeah.
album.
Now, let me tell you something. I had the tape before I had the CD of Green Day Dookie, and I was listening to it one day, summer break. I was home alone. Everybody was at work or out somewhere, whatever. I was home alone. Had the tape in, fell asleep on the couch listening to it. Several minutes later, I was awakened by audio that I thought had stopped. And this was the very first time that I had ever discovered a hidden track on an album. You know, people do that all the time. They used to do that all the time. Hidden tracks. There was an acoustic song called "All by Myself," and it's about masturbating. But it's at the end of the Dookie album. And I took a nap on the couch, and I woke up, and I was like, it scared the shit out of me. I was like, what is going on? And there was this song. I thought the tape had stopped, and that was the first time I'd ever um, known of the hidden track. Uh, so yeah, I got that CD in that batch too. So it was a good summer for music. Yeah.
Green Day haunts me every September.
Yeah, I bet they do. You gotta
Um,
wake them up. You gotta wake them up. I mean,
right? Better do it before it ends, too.
yeah.
So you mentioned one band earlier that I want to touch on real quick. You mentioned Weezer started dropping albums. One Weezer album in particular, the Teal album, which is absolutely amazing. I got a question. Where do you stand on when a band covers someone else's songs? Where do you stand on that? And is it ever better than the original?
It can be, and I will tell you this. Let me start just by saying, like, I'm not really into anything Weezer did after their Maladroit album, which was like 2000, 2001. So their first four albums or so to me are like just primo, and it became really corny to me. Like, I don't know, they just started writing some really whack shit. I mean, that's just personal opinion. If you love Weezer, good for you. Like, you should embrace whatever you like. But personally, didn't like them after Maladroit. Now, I know I know that you're referring to Toto's Africa cover.
I am, yes.
They did a really good job. Where's it going, guys? He ran off. I don't hear him. I am left to talk to you because he is gone. I feel like maybe I heard a dog barking. No, he's back. There he is. There
Yeah,
he
no,
is.
I'm still here. Yeah, my dog's
All right.
barking.
Yeah, I heard a dog. So yeah, uh, they did a really. I will give it to them. They did a really good job with the Africa cover. Really good job. Um, Still not a fan of whatever they're releasing, but they did a great cover of that song. Now, um, there's one instance that comes to mind uh, when I think, can a cover be better than the original artist? And I can't believe I'm even saying it. You wouldn't think it. Look, I don't know. Look, I love Prince. I worship Prince. I think Prince is like one of the greatest, man. He had an album in 1987 called Sign of the Times, and the title track "Sign of the Times" was a single for him. It was a big hit. It was a great song. Chaka Khan does a cover of it on an album, I think sometime in the 2000s, called Funk This. And I got to be honest with you. If you were to lay her version out in front of me or Prince's and say, which one of these Sign of the Times versions do you want to listen to? I'm going Chaka Khan's every single time because she absolutely amps it up and kills it. So, sorry, Prince. R.I.P. Love you, man. But Chaka Khan, you put that in the bag, baby. So, yeah.
You like ABBA?
You know what? I like ABBA, man.
I
I
like
like
ABBA.
ABBA.
I'm in on it.
SOS. SOS is the jam.
Funny, because I was going to mention that.
It's the jam.
SOS is covered by Fozzy.
Really?
And, yes, and it's really good. I'm not going to go as far as say it's better than the original, but it's really, really good. It's not just like, oh, they did a good job. If they released that, it was on one of their CDs, but if they pushed it, it was a big deal. All right, so keep on. I got to let my dog out. I'll be right back. Keep going.
He's going to go ahead. He's letting the dog out. I can't believe it. I'm sitting here talking to you guys about ABBA. Well, what's a guy to do? I'm really hoping that the door he has to let the dog out of is really close by and that he will be back very soon. If anybody's watching, throw me a bone here. Let's have a convo. Boy, yeah. What are your favorite songs by ABBA? Waterloo's another great one. Waterloo's really good. Take a Chance on Me, love it. Great song. Dancing Queen, I like it enough. It's fine. Dwight, hurry back. There he is. I was taking a poll on what everybody's favorite ABBA songs were. So
my favorite ABBA song is "Take a Chance on Me."
I mentioned "Take a Chance." Look, that's a great song, man.
It is a great
take
song.
A chance, take a chance, take a chance. Oh yeah, that's the jam, man.
Have you ever seen the movie?
No, I never did. Mamma Mia. No, I never.
Yeah,
did.
it's good. It's good. Yeah. You should watch it.
Yeah,
good date movie.
Is it?
Yeah, it's solid. I mean, as far as musical goes.
Yeah.
It's not Chicago. Have you ever seen Chicago?
I never saw Chicago.
Oh, dude, you need to see Chicago. Great soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good movie. I went and seen it on Broadway. I like the movie that much that
I bet that is cool to see it on Broadway. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, check out Fozzy SOS.
I will.
And that's pretty good. And he does a few Ozzy songs that are really good.
Fozzy does Ozzy.
Yeah, that's kind of how they started.
Oh. Well.
Fozzy, Ozzy.
Oh.
Shit, what was I gonna? Oh, do you like Tenacious D?
Honestly,
be right back.
Guys, I mean, how many times can my co-host really leave me hanging? Like, I don't even know what to say at this point. Well, I just hope that you guys are having a great night. And I'm going to take another sip of Busch Light because spoiler alert, I don't like Tenacious D. Yeah, it's not into it, man. But of course, I'll have to explain all this to Dwight when he comes back. There's the white.
So no recovery from the Tenacious D.
I dropped a spoiler alert while you were gone.
Oh, I missed it.
Because you were gone. But here's a spoiler alert. I'm going to give it to you now. I'm going to give you my answer. I don't like Tenacious D.
Oh my gosh.
Here's the thing. I can appreciate those guys because I do know that they're talented musicians, and I don't like. I don't hate them, but I just don't think it's my bag. It's just not my thing.
So here's a really cool story. So you're familiar with them. You know the band.
Oh, I know. Yeah, of
You know
course.
some
Yeah,
of the songs.
yeah,
So they had the song Tribute.
yeah,
Greatest song in the world. It's a tribute to the greatest song in the world.
yeah.
So my daughter, I have I have several Tenacious D songs on my phone. So she comes across this and she plays Tribute. And she instantly loves the song. So we're down in Florida last year on vacation, and we had rented out a boat, and the dude's driving it, and they let you hook up your Bluetooth player to it. And so we're like, we're enjoying the sights. So I give my phone to Ava. Here, honey, you play your music. So she plays a lot of really cool music. She's introduced me to so much music in the last
Yeah.
5 years. But she picks out Tenacious D Tribute. And the dude driving the boat turns around and he's like, "Oh, yeah, man, this is awesome. Y'all rock." And I'm like, "That's not us. She picked it." And I pointed over at little 5-year-old Ava sitting there. And he's like, "Are you serious?" And he's like, "This is your song?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's my song. And he's like, "You are the coolest little girl I've ever met in my life." And so we rocked out to Tenacious D Tribute as we're going down
On a
the
boat.
ocean
Yeah.
outside of the coast of Florida.
Okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
So that was a good Tenacious D story.
Yeah.
So another story is one night I come in and Ava's got YouTube up. She has the song Judas by Fozzy, and she has that song up on YouTube. Now, that's directly influenced by me, obviously. However, she didn't know I was recording. And they got this one part where it goes down real low and then they raise it back up, but she's in there and she just completely rocks out to it, knows every word to the song. But like I said, she's such an old soul as she'll listen to 60s, 70s. She likes several 80s songs we'll be going through, and she'll just, "Oh no, I like this song," and we'll stop on it. And as I look at Wendy, I'm like, "We've never let her listen to this."
That's cool. That's good. I mean, that's cool. That
And I'm experiencing so much more music now than I really ever have in my life, which is really cool. Have you ever heard of a band called AJR?
Mm-mm.
You should check them out. They're somebody that I kind of thought might actually be up your alley.
Really?
Yeah, and they're a new band, and they do some really good musics and some really good collabs with a few people.
Okay. AJR.
Yeah.
I'll check them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you listen to that's new, like that you like someone in the last decade and you're like, "Man, they're really good," or are you, because before Ava, I was locked off. I was like, "Nope, my music stopped 98, 99, right about there. I was done."
Uh, I couldn't tell you like immediately offhand, but like there are. I mean, obviously, I mean, there's good. There's still good music going on, man. I mean, it's. I think there always will be. The course it might have changed a little bit over the years, but I mean, there's still people releasing it. Like, I'm not a huge fan by any means, and I only have heard a few songs, but like, and I never thought I would say it, but people like Harry Styles, man. Like,
Oh no, he's good.
if I hear Harry Styles shit, I'm like, yo, like that knocks. Like, I'm down with it. Or, you know, there's like I'm trying to rack my brain right now. Like there's a singer songwriter named Arlo Parks. She's really good. There's I'm not big on the Black Keys. I don't know if you ever heard of the Black Keys, but
Mm-hmm.
um, one of the guys from the Black Keys, has a new project with some members of Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings, and they're called the Arcs, and they have a new single out called Eyes, and I've been really big into that song lately. Like, yeah, man. I mean, there's just there's so much. I mean, there's so much stuff out there, and in a world full of shit music, there's still a lot of great people like releasing some really good stuff. And I mean, I would have to sit and think. I could make you a list, but I mean, like, you know, yeah, there's good stuff still going on, and just when I think that the whole art of getting together with your friends and starting a band and fiddling around with instruments together and trying to come up with songs and trying to create your thing, like just when I think that might be dead, like every once in a while I'll hear something and I'm like, God, you know what, the rock band might be like few and far between, but it's still out there. It's still there. And of course, there's a lot of good R&B stuff out, and a lot of good. There's still some good rap out there, and I mean, you just gotta. The thing about it is that when we were teenagers and we were kids, like all that good stuff was more prominent and more mainstream and more easily accessible back then because that was your big stuff. Like it's not as accessible now. It's like not as known now, but like it's definitely still alive. It's out there, but you just might have to dig a little deeper to find it. But I think there's always
There's
going to be some good spirits carrying on good music, fighting the good fight. So yeah,
plenty of those still out there fighting on and making really good music. There's a lot of bands. I like more music from today than I probably liked over the last 20, since the early 2000s. A lot
I'll
of the
agree
stuff
with
now
you.
is better. Now country sucks.
Oh, country is the worst right now.
It's it's awful.
It's the
Uh,
worst, man.
but it
I
has
love
been
good country, man.
since
I love good country, but it's not good right now.
yeah,
It's not.
since the 90s it's never been any good.
Yeah.
What's your favorite soundtrack? If you were to get into a car right now and you were going to put on a soundtrack, what soundtrack are you putting on?
I got a few, man. I got a few. I got to toss between here. I love the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack, the first one. There is so much heat on that damn soundtrack. But also, Footloose is a big one. I'm big on
Yes.
the Footloose soundtrack, man. Huge on the Footloose soundtrack. Top Gun is nothing but bangers. The Top Gun soundtrack is just so good. Um, those might be my like top three top tier soundtracks, man.
All right.
But I could go on and on with them. But if you're asking what my favorites are, those are probably it.
So here's the tough question, and here's where we're gonna wrap everything up.
All
So
right.
you have to pick. You're going to a deserted island. You have to take one, and we'll at least make it a greatest hits album. Who's who's the band that you're going to make a greatest hits album, and that's all you get to listen to?
Listen. Everybody that knows me now has heard me in interviews, has heard me talk about them, whatever, whatever. I'm going Duran Duran because Duran Duran's greatest album, which is their greatest hits that came out in like 99, 2000, 2001. It's just full of heat. I mean, it is just like, that's all. I mean, that is literally quintessential Duran Duran right there. So yeah, I'm going Duran Duran greatest is the album I'm going with. So
Great choice.
I could get by on that album. So
I would go with Alabama.
you're
Greatest
going out of
hits. I
that's
will go with
not dude.
Alabama.
That's not a bad dude. You couldn't go wrong there either.
Now they actually have their two or three greatest hits albums, and all three of them are really really solid.
Yeah,
Outside of that, Jason, do you have any final lyrics to whimsy us with musically wise?
I do not. I just I think we've covered all the bases that we've talked about, that we've wanted to talk about rather. But with I mean, this is how things were when we were growing up. So it was fun. and we appreciated, I think, things more back then than maybe we do now with pulling up Pandora or Spotify or whatever and just going ahead and skipping through and whatever. Like I think I think that we learned to appreciate music a lot more then, because we were not necessarily forced to listen to it, but we sat down and put a record or a tape on and appreciated all that it entailed. So yeah.
All right. So where can everybody find you at? Where can they listen to all the records you be spinning nowadays in your art form?
Oh man, Jason Shepard Artworks. You see right here on the screen. That's how you spell it. Underneath me with the X. Jason Shepard Artworks on Facebook, Instagram. Be sure to listen to my other podcast with Matt and Luke Cosley. Check out The Lost Art of, and we try to drop one a month there. So you can hear that on all of your favorite podcast streaming platforms. And yeah. What about you?
So make sure you check that out. Drop them a good old subscribe on your podcast catcher of choice. You, of course, can catch us at anywhere social medias at Powerbomb Nation, iTunes, Stitcher Radio. You hear the Culture Cast. You'll also hear the Do or Do Not, a Star Wars podcast, which comes to you tomorrow night at a special time of 9:30. That is my fault because I have to work a little later than normal, but make sure you turn in live for 9:30 as we talk some Star Wars scuttlebutt. And remember, Powerbomb Nation is a subsidiary of Powerbomb Digital. Culture Cast is a product of Powerbomb Nation Podcasting Network. Follow, like, subscribe, share with your friends, join in the conversation. Let us know all your thoughts. What was your first record? What was your first tape? What was your first CD? What was all that stuff that we talked about tonight? What was your experiences? Let us know in the comments below. And until next time, peace out.